Well, it is great to see each of you here for our 2023 HC Summit back in DC, back here at the Doubletree. And I know that, there were a couple of snags in travel yesterday. That was a joke, I'm sorry. There was a lot. I mean, we had a tornado warning here, so anytime DCA is shut down for 5 minutes, it takes 2 days to straighten it back out. And so let it be an hour, and it really plays havoc on travel. So I know I chatted with different folks and some of the woes of travel. That seems to be the life we live these days, that travel is not as automatic and routine. But that is the way life is. Life is not automatic and routine. There are so many changes that can take place. So I appreciate the sacrifice, the dedication, the commitment that each of you have made to be here for a time such as this. This is going to be a very exciting week because we're living in some very exciting times. We're going to go a little bit more in detail that throughout the day. But these are exciting times when you look across the world stage and the world picture and we see the world timeline and the world events. There's a lot going on. So I'm excited about this week because we're going to talk about the integral difference that the Chaplain Corps is making in the hearts and lives of our military members, and how our leaders see our role, our responsibility, our duty, our care as integral to the future. So it's going to be an exciting time. We've got a great theme: respect, service, trust, which fortifies readiness. I'm going to ask Chaplain Painter in a few minutes to go in a little more detail about that. So if you say, well, I can't remember that, respect, service, trust, fortifies readiness, just remember RST4R. Respect, service, trust, RST, 4 fortifies, R, readiness. Because we're talking about readiness. Okay, RST4R. Chaplain Painter will give us more details on that. We've got some great speakers lined up, and these just do not happen chance occur. So we're real excited. In just a very short while this morning, we're going to have the Secretary of the Air Force, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, and the Chief of Space Operations all sitting in these chairs. They're going to open up with some few opening remarks, and then they're going to get right away to the questions that you have posed. And so they have questions that are already coming in, and so they're going to answer our questions. They're going to share about where the Department of the Air Force is headed. So we'll hear from the very top first thing this morning. We will also hear from the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force. We will also hear later today from Chief Booth, but probably all of you, the only reason you came was because this afternoon you get to hear directly from Chief Chambers. So that's going to round out today. Then as we move into tomorrow, we're going to have, if you've looked through the agenda, you see we're going to talk about a spiritual fitness initiative. How do we operationalize the White Rope program? That's exciting. Then we're going to move on to our heritage speaker, Chaplain Stendahl, who is going to talk a little bit about the history and heritage of his time in service as Chief of Chaplains. We will then move into, we have a lot of updates that we have spread throughout this agenda also, whether it's from the career field managers, whether it's bringing outside individuals to talk about readiness, AFOR-GEN. I know that's a topic of discussion. We're going to hear from Air Force IMSC, Chaplain Corps College. We'll hear from our service components in the Guard and Reserve, as they'll be presenting along with Air Force IMSC and recruiting. We're also going to have a video from Civil Air Patrol. The Chief of Chaplains of Civil Air Patrol is actually out in Washington State at their national convention this week, could not be here, but shared a video with us just to give an update. And we're going to have a little update on the Gold Star program. So there's a lot that we have placed within this, and then we're going to have breakout sessions where we're going to talk about our lines of effort for HC Next 2.0. So a couple of breakout sessions, but then probably what everyone signed up for to come to the summit is the last thing, and that's networking. So you know what networking is? It's code word for fellowship, which is kind of the heart and soul of the Chaplain Corps. So we've spent quite a bit of time over these last 9 months specifically custom designing exactly how the summit is going to be presented and what you will receive and take from here. So I wanted to do a little expectation management. The goal of the summit is for you to take all of this great, wonderful information, take it back to your teams, and disseminate it to the very lowest ranking individual on your team. Because the test is going to be, in the many venues we have the opportunity to interact with the lowest, we're going to ask them questions. And that's the test. Have they received the information that you've gleaned and you've passed down? Because what we have found is individuals do not know. When you sit with a team and ask them to tell you about HC Next 2.0, and they say, oh, it has something to do with rebluing business practices. Well, that was HC Next. That was a long time ago. So, and then we walk into a team and they actually teach it to us. And that's very exciting, very powerful. So we have worked to improve the messaging on HC Next 2.0 and the 3 LOEs and how that play out. We've also included many of you in rebuilding our HC readiness, a lot of working groups. In fact, 2 years ago at the summit, we spent an entire summit focused on rebuilding HC readiness. And many of you served on the teams. I'm seeing faces and remembering seeing you represented or seeing your name attached to that working group, which is very exciting. That's very exciting. So we're going to talk about our LOEs a little bit later, but really if you can think about readiness times 2, and culture, you have the heart of where is the Chaplain Corps headed. So in May in the video, I actually released a statement, and I've been asked a lot of questions about the statement, and it is, what are we looking for in senior leaders of the Chaplain Corps? So I'd say what we're looking for in chaplains and religious affairs airmen is we're looking for individuals who are humble, selfless, servant leaders who care for airmen, guardians, and families more than anyone thinks possible. And they use their rank, their position, their influence for others instead of themselves, their own assignment, their own whatever is next. And doing so, they do this with an attitude of being kind, being available, being inclusive, being the best form of themselves that they can possibly be. And they will be all of this with dignity and respect for all. You take that is what we're looking for in the Chaplain Corps. That's what recruiters are looking for in the Chaplain Corps. Why? Because the road ahead and the challenges that we face requires us to serve others versus serving ourselves. So we're going to talk about that during this time as we talk about our culture and what we're looking for in that vein. So it's really exciting to be at this point in history where we have been told that we are now post-COVID. How many believe that? Okay, I saw 3 hands. Wonderful. So the messaging is working. We are post-COVID. However, if we're post-COVID, then people are still coming up with COVID. But I think the epidemic, the world epidemic, the health epidemic is in that post-COVID. There are still plenty of cases that are going around. So as we move towards this time, it is that serious time when we need to now more than ever focus on how is it that we bring folks back together. How are we doing that? How are we moving forward in that way? And that's what this exciting few days we're going to talk about. How are we bringing people together and what are the ways to do that? And you're going to have opportunities to break out and talk about it. Talk about the great ideas that you have going on where you are and how that can be modified, replicated, adapted, adopted at your location. Because if you're waiting for 8C to come up with all the answers, we're not going to be able to come up with all of them. All we're going to be able to do is develop the policy and provide the framework. But we would like to provide a framework in such a way that you can take that and custom design it to right where you serve. Because really, you do not want Chief Chambers and I to develop a policy that's going to fit in every situation. Why? Because Hanscom is not McConnell, is not Vandenberg, is not Yokota, is not Kunsan, is not Ramstein, is not Aviano, is not Mildenhall. In other words, all of those places are different with different changes. If we give you framework and you can custom design it to your location, that is the better use of resources, and that is the better use of any type of programming that we can possibly do. So as we talk, we think about the people that are serving at the installations, because we remember what it was like being at Lakenheath and being at Peterson. And having the Office of the Chief of Chaplain say, you will do this program. And this program that was not applicable to where we were. But instead, when we were offered, here is the framework and opportunity, and we could custom design it to our location, then it did not feel like a program. It felt like a way of life. And that's really what the chaplain course should be. That's what historically we have been, and that is how we should continue to move forward. So I'm very excited about this week. In case you hadn't figured that out, I'm real excited about this week. I'm excited about seeing you here. Just to hear the chatter, the laughter in the hallways, that is so exciting. And so with that, I really just wanted to kind of give that blanket backsplash of what is this week going to be all about. Well, now you've got the backsplash, and now we're going to put the framework together. We're going to put some meat on the bones, and we're going to introduce to you the 2023 8C Summit.